Hi, boys and girls, it's Mrs. Batliner, and I'd like to share another story with you in honor of the month of May being AAPI month. You may be thinking, AAPI, what is that? So it's Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And we talked about it in our last story, and this is how we honor people from Asia and the Pacific Islanders and the great things that they have done for America. So our story today is called The Name Jar, and our author is Yang Suk Choi. Look at this awesome illustration. For Soon Ain Lee, my mother, and thanks to Tracy and Michelle. Through the school bus window, Yoon Hai looked out at the strange buildings and houses on the way to her new school. It was her first day, and she was both nervous and excited. Boys and girls, I want you to think, it's almost our last day of school. Can you remember how you felt on your very, very, very first day of school? Were you excited? Were you nervous? Were you tired? Were you crabby? Can you think of those adjectives or those feelings? She fingered the little block of wood in her pocket and remembered leaving her grandmother at the airport in Korea. Her grandmother had wiped away Yoon Hai's tears and handed her an ink pad and a small red satin pouch. Your name is inside, she had said. My name? Yoon Hai had wondered. Again, she took out the red pouch to look at the wooden block with her name carved in it. As she ran her fingers along the grooves and ridges of the Korean characters, she pictured her grandmother's smile. So boys and girls, think about it. She not only has moved, but she has moved to a whole entire different country. So she's leaving everything that she knows in Korea and coming to America. How do you think you'd feel? Is that thing for show and tell? A boy asked Yoon Hai, surprising her. Yoon Hai looked up as more kids leaned over. No, it's mine, Yoon Hai answered, quickly putting the pouch back in her pocket. Are you new here? What's your name? A girl asked. Yoon Hai, said Yoon Hai. Oh, nay? The girl asked, scrunching up her face. Ooh, 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 nay, some kids chanted. No, Yoon Hai corrected. It's spelled Unhei. It's pronounced Yoon Hai. Oh, it's you, hey, the boy said. Like you, hey. What about hey, you? Just then, the bus pulled up at the school and the doors opened. Yoon Hai hurried to get off. You, hey, bye-bye, the kids yelled as she left. Yoon Hai felt herself blush. So, boys and girls, do you think it has started off to be a good day for her? I don't think so. All of those kids were making fun of her. And remember, this is the very, 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 very first time that she is on a bus with these students. Yoon Hai stood in the doorway of her new and noisy classroom. She was relieved that the kids on the bus had gone to other rooms, but her face still felt red. Aren't you going in? Asked a curly-haired boy with lots of dots on his face. You're the new girl, right? He asked cheerfully. Yoon Hai nodded, and before she could walk away, the boy took her hand and pulled her through the door. Here's the new girl, he announced so loudly that the teacher, Mr. Kokotos, almost dropped his glasses. Mr. Kokotos thanked him and greeted Yoon Hai. Please welcome our newest student, he said to the class. She and her family just arrived from Korea last week. Yoon-hai smiled broadly and tried not to show she was nervous. What's your name? Someone shouted. Yoon-hai pictured the kids on the bus. I haven't picked one yet, she told the class, but I'll let you know by next week. As Mr. Kokoto showed her to her desk, she felt many round, curious eyes on her. Why doesn't she have a name? She heard someone whisper. Maybe she robbed a bank in Korea and needs a new identity, a boy replied. On the bus ride home, nobody teased her, but Yoon-hai kept thinking about her name. How was school, Yoon-hai? Her mother asked when she walked in. Did you understand the teacher? Yoon-hai simply nodded. She unpacked her school bag and set the red pouch by a photograph of her grandma. I'm glad you are learning English well, her mother said. You must study hard, behave nicely, and get good grades to show that you are a good Korean. I will, replied Yoon-hai. But I think I would like my own American name, she said quickly. Her mother looked surprised. Why? Yoon-hai is a beautiful name. Your grandma and I went to a name master for it. But it's so hard to pronounce, Yoon-hai complained. I don't want to be different from all the American kids. You are different, Yoon-hai, her mother said. That's a good thing. Yoon-hai just wrinkled her nose. So boys and girls, think about it. Think about your name. Is your name hard to say? Or is your name easy to say? I know being a teacher and seeing hundreds and hundreds of students during the year, I make mistakes all the time saying their names, and I feel so bad when I don't say it correctly. So think about your name. Do people say your name correctly? Or do they have a problem with your name? Think in your head, would you want to change your name? If you had the chance to change your name, would you? Later that day, Yoon-hai and her mother went grocery shopping in their new neighborhood. They passed Fidel's Falafel, Tony's Pizza, and Dot's Deli. A big graffiti-painted garage truck roared like a lion as it took off down the street. Nothing sounded or looked familiar until they got to Kim's Market. The sign was in both English and Korean. Her mother picked up cabbage to make kimchi, Korean-style spicy pickled cabbage, and other vegetables and meat. She also found some seaweed, Yoon-hai's favorite for soup. It made Yoon-hai smile. Just because we've moved to America, her mother said, doesn't mean we need to stop eating Korean food. Thumb up if you would eat seaweed. Yeah, believe it or not, I have eaten seaweed before. If you ever have sushi that's wrapped like in green, that's seaweed. It tastes pretty good. At the checkout counter, a friendly man smiled at Yoon-hai. Helping your mother with the shopping, he asked. Yoon-hai nodded. I'm Mr. Kim, he said, and what is your name? Yoon-hai, she answered. Ah, what a beautiful name, he said. Doesn't it mean grace? Yoon-hai nodded again. My mother and grandmother went to a name master for it, she told him. A graceful name for a graceful girl, Mr. Kim said as he put their groceries into bags. Welcome to the neighborhood, Yoon-hai. That evening, Yoon-hai stood in front of the bathroom mirror. Hi, my name is Amanda, she said cheerfully. Then she wrinkled her nose. Hi, My name is Laura. Maybe not. Her smile turned down. Nothing sounded right. Nothing felt right. I don't think American kids will like me, she worried as she began to brush her teeth. Ha manem id shuzi, she said to the mirror with a mouth full of toothpaste. The next morning, when Yunhai arrived at school, she found a glass jar on her desk with some pieces of paper in it. Yunhai took out one and read it out loud. Daisy. That's my baby sister's nickname, but you can use it if you want, said Cindy, who sat next to her. Yunhai took out the rest of the paper. Tamala, she read. I got it from a storybook, said Nate. She was smart and brave. Yunhai nodded and unfolded another piece. Wednesday? Yeah. You came here on a Wednesday, said Ralph. Thank you for your help. A smile spread over Yunhai's face. Ralph quickly said, We'll put more names in. You can pick whatever you like, or pick them all, and you'll have the longest name in history. So think about it, ladies and gentlemen. Were her classmates being kind? Yeah, they were. Look, they were giving her names because she did not know what she wanted to be called. If you were to give Yunhai a name, what would you give her? At 3 o'clock, the bell rang for the end of the day. Yunhai looked out the window and saw it was sprinkling. It's the same rain, she thought, but in a different place. She watched other kids leave in groups. Hey! A familiar voice called out. Yunhai turned around to see the curly-haired boy again. I'm Joey, he said. And you? Don't you have any name? Yunhai thought for a moment. Well, I can show you, she said, and she took out the small red pouch. She pressed the wooden block on the ink pad and then stamped it on a piece of paper. So, boys and girls, just how like we write our letters of the alphabet to create our name, this is what Yunhai's name looks like. That's amazing. This is my name stamp, she said. My grandma gave it to me. In Korea, I can use it as a signature when I open a bank account or write a letter. And whenever I miss my grandma, I use it to fill a piece of paper. Want to try it? She offered the stamp to Joey, and he carefully inked the stamp and pressed it hard on the paper. The red characters gleamed against the whiteness. Wow, that's beautiful, Joey said. Can I keep the paper? Sure, Yunhai said. And then the two of them shared her umbrella as they walked to the school bus. Every day, the jar got fuller with more names, and Yunhai read all of them. She found a few names she liked. Miranda, Stella, Avery. They sounded interesting. I hope you choose the name I put in, Marco told her at snack time. I've put in 3 more, said Ralph. Madison, Park, and Lex. They are my favorite street names. Maybe you should close your eyes and draw a name, Rosie suggested. Ralph frowned. That's silly. What if she doesn't like the name she draws? Well, we didn't get to choose our names when we were born, did we? Rosie argued. Everyone thought about this. It's true, right? You didn't get to choose your name. Your parents gave you your name. So when Rosie said that, everybody's like, yeah, you know what? You're right. When Yunhai got home from school that day, her little brother ran to give her a letter. It was from her grandma. She opened it quickly. It said, To my Yunhai, I hope you are enjoying your new school and new friends. Be sure to help your mother and your little brother. Here the moon is up, but there the sun is up. No matter how far apart we are, and no matter how different America is from Korea, you'll always be my Yunhai. Your grandma forever. Yoonhai took out her wooden stamp and filled a paper with it. She thought for a long time in front of the bathroom mirror. On Saturday, Yoonhai walked to Mr. Kim's store. Mr. Kim was helping a customer, but he looked up and greeted her. "Hi, Yoonhai." "Hello, Mr. Kim," Yoonhai replied. She felt as if she was back to her old neighborhood in Korea. "Hey," said the customer, turning around. It was Joey. "Your name is Yoonhee?" he asked her with his eyes open wide. Yoonhai looked quickly at Mr. Kim and then turned to Joey. She nodded slowly. "Yes, it's pronounced Yoonhai." "It means grace," Mr. Kim added. "Yoonhai," Joey had said slowly, and this time perfectly. Made Yoonhai smile. "I'll have it ready for you tomorrow," Mr. Kim said to Joey. "Thank you, Mr. Kim. See you Monday, Yoonhai," Joey said to her. He left before she could ask him why he was in the store. On Monday, Yoonhai came to class early to look at the names one last time, but the jar wasn't on her desk. Instead, there was a single piece of paper with a name on it. Yoonhai slipped it in her pocket. "Where's your name jar?" Ralph asked as soon as he saw it was gone. "I don't know," Yoonhai said. "It wasn't on Mr. Kokoto's desk or on any other desk, and it wasn't on the counters or on any of the shelves." As the other kids arrived, they helped to look. Soon Mr. Kokotos came in and Ralph shouted at him, "The name jar is gone! The jar with the names in it." "Gone?" Mr. Kokotos replied. With a look of concern, he asked Yoonhai, "Did you get a chance to read all the names?" Yoonhai nodded. She took a breath. "I'm ready to introduce myself," she said. What do you think the name's going to be?" "I kind of have an idea." "I don't know, though. Let's see." Yoonhai wrote her name in both English and Korean on the chalkboard. "I liked the beautiful names and funny names you thought for me," she told the class, "but I realized that I liked my name best, so I chose it again. Korean name means something. Yoonhai means grace." "Grace, Grace, in high," shouted Ralph. Everyone tried to say it. "Yanahi, Uniyi, Anha." Yoonhai said her name again slowly and clearly. Soon, the kids began to say it better. Even Mr. Kokotos. They applauded Yoonhai's choice. "It was named after a flower," Rosie whispered to Yoonhai. "Lots of American names have meanings, too," Mr. Kokotos reminded everyone. When the class was dismissed, Yoonhai heard her new friends say goodbye. "Goodbye, Yoonhai. See you tomorrow." "Goodbye, Yoonhai." Yoonhai said goodbye and then looked around for Joey, but he was already gone. So, did she choose one of the names in the name jar? No, she kept her own name because she really liked it a lot. "Yoonhai, Yoonhai, come downstairs," Mother called up to Yoonhai. "Your friend is here." Yoonhai rushed down to see who she meant. There stood Joey, and in his arms was the name jar. "Where did you find it?" Yoonhai asked breathlessly. Joey looked embarrassed. Well, I took it, but only because I wanted you to keep your own name, and you did." He reached in and pulled out the names. "Do you want to keep them?" he asked. "Thank you. I'll keep them as a souvenir," Yoonhai said happily. Then she pulled out the piece of paper from her pocket. "Do you want this back?" Joey grinned. "You can keep it. I'll return the name jar to the class. Maybe you can put some Korean nicknames in it for us. Names with good meanings." "I could do that," agreed Yoonhai. I've already got a Korean nickname, Joey said. Mr. Kim helped me choose it. Carefully, he pulled a small silver felt pouch from his pocket, then took out a dark wooden stamp with beautiful Korean characters carved into it. He pressed it on the ink pad and then on the paper next to her name. Chinku, read Yun Hai. That means friend. And Chinku smiled back. Oh, what a great story. So, ladies and gentlemen, when we learn to write our alphabet, like the letters of the alphabet. But when you have Korean or Japanese or Chinese, they learn to write in characters. Yeah, so where we have 26 letters that we have to learn, sometimes they have like 7,000 characters that they have to learn. Yeah, so it's really, really neat. So if you got to change your name, what would you call yourself? I hope you enjoyed this story. It's another one of my favorites. I'll see you the next time.